It's been said before, but it's worth repeating. More people die each year through work activities than through war activities. In fact, it's estimated over 2 million people die each year from work activities. Surely some will say these figures are a mistake. We don't hear about all these deaths. Well, that's because they're not subject to major incidents like the Bangladesh factory falling down yesterday and the wacko fire test thing in the fertilizer plant. These are big major things, but most people die at home or in hospital. Most people die of occupational diseases. Most people die of carcinogens, the worst of which is asbestos. How in the 21st century, with our technological skills or communication, are people still being dying because they're exposed to this deadly fibre? There's two simple answers: greed and propaganda. And that's why we're here today, outside the Russian embassy in wealthy Kensington, to protest over the deadly trade in asbestos to the Asian continent. This is the knowledge they were forbidden to use asbestos in the construction of venues at Sochi for the Winter Olympics next year. This in the face of the World Health Organization's declaration that all forms of asbestos are carcinogenic. But there's money to be made here. 1 million tonnes of asbestos doesn't come cheap. Unfortunately, the lives of those exposed to it apparently does. And the Russians have learned from the Canadians. They're now using their workers and their unions to propagandise in favour of asbestos. We say the profits from asbestos should be moved to a just transition to the Russian economy for those workers. Fooling workers in the short term does nothing. 20, 30, 40 years down the line, as we have learned to our cost in the Western world, that's when the real results of this epidemic will occur. And those poor Russian people now in favour of it will understand the plight they should have understood at the minute. We're here to remember the dead and fight for the living, not just in the UK but across international lines. This has been a long struggle and the consequences are here for years to come. To the workers in both Russia and Asia, we send out a message today. Stop mining and using asbestos. Recognise the dangers from exposure. Ignore the propaganda from the asbestos deniers, most of whom will never be exposed themselves. On Workers' Memorial Day we say, particularly with regard to asbestos, remember the dead and fight for the living.
Hey!
People will be dying. Now the people in that building there, they know about asbestos because there was a television program on Russian state TV 2 weeks ago that told people about the dangers of asbestos. I'm sure they've seen it. I'm sure they gave permission for it. They know that asbestos is a killer, but they're not prepared to show or to tell anyone about the hazards. Now in about 10 days' time, Russia will block listing of asbestos at the Rotterdam Convention. They're going to do this because they don't want other countries to know about the hazard they're importing. We have no question that this is what Russia is going to do. They banned the use of asbestos in the construction of their Olympics in 2014 because they know asbestos is too dangerous to be used. They're not using it at the Olympics, but they're happy to send it to other people. And they're going to do that continuously until they run out of asbestos. They know what they are doing. They're sitting in their comfortable offices, drinking their vodka, eating their caviar. They don't give a hoot about what happens to our friends in Thailand, our friends in Vietnam, our friends in Indonesia. We are standing here today and we are calling them to account. They won't face us. They won't even let us come and stand outside their embassy. But we are not going away, and we are going to expose them for the liars and the cheats and the murderers they are. We say niet to asbestos, niet to asbestos, niet to asbestos,
No to asbestos! No to asbestos!
Thank you very much.
Fine.
We all know it's unrelenting. The death figures are going up and up. They don't stop. And yet we've made big achievements in what comes in on the side of Europe. Russia taking the helm now. And it shows you the type of politics that's going on there in that country. We had a death on a construction site just a few days ago, and unfortunately there's been a clash of a protest that's taking place a few miles away, and so I'm giving apologies for a number of construction workers who couldn't be here this morning. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Embassy Russia.